A brand new spec map for HHN 32 has just dropped by Horror Night Nightmares quite literally a few minutes ago. I did not expect to make a video about HHN today, but here we are. So, let's talk about it. Welcome to the Horror Fiends. I'm your certified horror dad, Kyle Beatty, and today we're talking about the brand new spec map version 3 that was just dropped by Horror Night Nightmares. Now in this video I will be covering just HHN Orlando, as that is my specialty if you've seen my other videos. But without further ado, let's dive into this new spec map and let's get our thoughts on it. Feel free to leave your opinions down in the comments. Now again, these are just speculations. Obviously none of this is set in stone for HHN 32. But let's just say, if this is set in stone, or this is actually coming to the event, this is going to be the biggest year since COVID. So when you first walk into the park, you're going to go into Minion Land now, I guess, and it's going to be the Carnival of Oddities Horde Scare Zone. Here's my thoughts on this. Similar to Horrors of Halloween of last year was the Icon Scare Zone, which was the Pumpkin Lord Scare Zone. He was at the front and center. The opening ceremony took place with him right there, and he basically, you walk through his whole zone. Now with the Carnival of Oddities, with odd specifically capitalized, leads us to believe that this is going to be Dr. Oddfellow Scare Zone. If you do not know who Dr. Oddfellow is, I have a previous video on the channel completely talking about his backstory, and I have the HHN deep dive where his backstory is also touched on. To sum it up in short words here, Oddfellow was Jack's mentor, kind of carnival guide, and also a murderer that killed Jack. Now how I'm thinking this zone, if it is coming to the event, it's gonna go, is Oddfellow's going to be in the zone. He is going to be the icon, and this is going to be your icon zone full of clowns and other, I guess, amusements or carnival kind of freaks, quote unquote freaks. Passing this awesome scare zone, we're going to be walking straight, like we're going to Rip Ride Rocket, and that's going to get us to our first house. And currently the speculation on this house is some trees with a slash mark through them. Now, from what I've seen about the buzz around certain original houses that are coming to the event, is that this is going to be a house centered around the urban legend or cryptid, Bigfoot. Now, do I think this is going to be a very cool house if they bring Bigfoot to the event? Yes. I feel like he'd be similar to like the Wendigos of like case files and things like that. But my speculation on that one is that means that a Bigfoot original house is coming to the event. Now let's keep going straight, and we're going to run into our first IP, and that is going to be the Exorcist. Speculated. Obviously, we don't know if it's coming. Now, this is not going to be the Exorcist Believer like we saw on the last speculation map, but just simply the Exorcist, the original film. Now, this was done in HHN 26, Chance's year, and I really liked it when I went through it. I see the, gripes with it, that it's the same room over and over again, but they reinvent the room in several different ways, and I think it's something that everyone should experience if they go to an Exorcist house. Now, moving right along, we keep going straight. We're not going to go on the right yet. We're going to keep going straight to this other house that is centered over where Jimmy Fallon is. And that looks like it's going to be the picture we've seen before, which we believe is like a Salem witch trial kind of house, a blood cult ritual kind of house. I'm one of the select few that actually liked Spirits of the Coven last year, so I think witch houses are always fun. Now, if we keep going straight, we're going to be going to where Fiesta de Chupacabras was last year, and this is one of the biggest speculations of this year's event, and that is Stranger Things 4. Now, we do believe this is coming to the event. Obviously, it's not set in stone, but I do think they're bringing Stranger Things back once again for Halloween Horror Nights. They kind of missed the chance with it last year, and I think it was some licensing issues. I'm not too sure about that, but I am very glad that we're going to be getting another Stranger Things house if this is actually coming to the event. Speculated around Stranger Things 4, because Stranger Things 4 is one of the scariest seasons of the show. And there's many iconic moments in the show, like Eddie playing Metallica on top of his trailer, and just Max running from Vecna in episode 4, that I would like to see recreated inside of this house. And it does mean that the Stranger Things house is going to be in a soundstage. Thank God. And next to it is the, castle with the dragon, the speculated Dueling Dragons house based on the old Universal ride, Dueling Dragons. Now, this will be in another original house coming to the event, if it is coming, and it is going to be, I don't really know the story behind the Dueling Dragons ride. Did it have a story? Did it not have a story? Either way, I think the Horror Nights team is going to create something really scary, and we might have some really cool dragon puppets. I really don't know, but I'm excited for this house. Alright, so if we make a right into New York by the Tribute Store, we're going to be going into the Scare Zone zodiac signs. When I first looked at the speculation map, I was kind of confused on what these zodiac signs mean. Are we getting a zodiac killer scare zone? Are we getting some kind of manifestation of the physical zodiac signs? And my wife kindly reminded me that Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights in Japan did a scare zone very similar to this, where they created the dark zodiac signs. Basically manifestations of all these, I really don't know the term for it, but the symbols of these zodiac signs into dark creatures. Now I think this could be really cool, especially in a big zone like New York. Now if we keep going down, going towards Fast and Furious, our Fast and Furious house this year might be Chucky. Now Chucky's already been confirmed to come to the event. He was announced last year. His house is going to be about the sci-fi show, but let's just acknowledge that Fast and Furious is a small kind of area. It's not like the bigger sound stages that we have with, let's say, Stranger Things that might be coming. But I was pleasantly surprised when I went to the Horrors of Blumhouse last year and saw the whole Black Phone Freaky situation that had going on down there, and I was extremely impressed with the space that they used. So I think a Chucky house here isn't a bad idea. Now we're going to be going through San Francisco. I worked this area when I worked at 30, but it is also a very congested area for a scare zone. And the only image we have of what the scare zone could be is just some devil horns. Now, what does this mean? Could this be just a devil scare zone? Could this be a kitty cat club scare zone related to Boris Schuster and the case files and the legendary truth? Or are these Krampus horns and this is a holiday scare zone? We don't know, that's why we speculate. Now here's something I want to acknowledge. Usually once you get through the San Fran scare zone, you can keep walking and not have any interaction with Halloween Horror Nights throughout all of Harry Potter, and then you get to Nightmare Fuel. This year, on this speculation map, that's different. Diagon Alley could have a Death Eater scare zone, similar to what was going on in Islands of Adventure the previous year. So, for those who go and hide in Diagon Alley to escape the hordes of Horror Nights, you won't get away this time, honestly, because if Death Eaters are coming to the event, they will interact with you inside of Diagon Alley. Now, I think this is a great addition, adding basically another scare zone into the event that we've never had before. Now, if we leave Diagon Alley and go towards the stadium, once again, we are presented with Nightmare Fuel. Now, next to it, where basically Bugs was last year, so in a sprung tent, is this logo with a C. Now, what do we think this is? Here's what I will tell you this is, personally, in my opinion, and I think I'm right on this one. This is Oddfellow's Carnival of Thrills. We're gonna have a icon house, hopefully. How can I speculate this? Just off of the C with some fancy lettering designs on it. Basically, this isn't the same exact location, which was on the previous map of a tent with some fog behind it. Now, if Oddfellow is getting a house at the event, this is going to be my most anticipated house of this year because I am a sucker for the icons. Now, if we go around the corner here, we're going to be going to this house that has a guitar with some devil horns on it. Now, the speculation for this house has been the Devil Went Down to Georgia, or a house very similar to, you know, bluesy, devil music kind of thing. Now, the house going next to it is one of the most anticipated houses of this year by a lot of HHN fans, and that is going to be The Last of Us. It has already been confirmed, has been announced, The Last of Us is coming to the event. Now, I have a whole previous video talking about this entire announcement, so make sure you go and check that out, but let's keep moving along. Next thing we're gonna do is go through Simpsons. I know, Simpsons having a scare zone? Whoa, let's talk about it for a second. The Megan Horde is suspected to be centered in Springfield. It's been a while since we actually had scare actors roaming Springfield. I mean, we used to have the Chainsaw Drill team going through there, but it hasn't happened in quite a long time. Now, are we gonna have a million Megans running through this scare zone? Because it says Megan Horde. I wanna acknowledge that. That says Megan Horde, like a horde of walkers. Sorry for the Walking Dead joke. Which again adds another element to this year, which we haven't had in a very long time. I'm very excited. Let's keep moving along in the park. Next thing we're going to do is go towards Kids Zone, and that is going to be where the Universal Studios Monsters Paris is going to be centered. Now, this is one that's been on the speculation maps since the beginning. Started with Phantom and Drac, and now Hunchback. There's a lot of monsters that have been speculated inside of this one. But I do think for sure this Universal Studios Monsters House is going to be coming back to the event. It has been coming every year, and they knock it out of the park each year, especially with last year's Legends Collide. Then we're going to be walking through Central Park, another area that can be a great scare zone or a very sad and congested scare zone. Right now we just have the tagline of jungle possibly being there. What could that be? I honestly have no idea. Could it be, you know, prehistoric jungle with saber-tooth tigers, or is this like Amazon jungle with, you know, some Ravagers, some Indiana Jones kind of thing in the jungle? I don't know. We'll have to see once we get announcements closer to that, or maybe another speculation map. But next to it is something I really want to highlight, because this is something I've been talking about for years. 4 years. And it's going to be a show in front of Mel's, the Vamp show. This doesn't look like it's going to be a Lagoon show this time. We are going to get a show based off of the scare zone that is next to it, Vamp 69. Now, it has been many years since we had a Mel show, and that's something I always say to everyone I talk to about Halloween Horror Nights. So if this is actually coming to the event, if it finally gets cemented in stone past this speculation map, this is something I'm very excited about finally returning to the event. But let's talk about the zone next to it, the scare zone next to it in Hollywood, Vamp 69. Now, if you've been going to HHN for quite a while, you will notice that Vamp is something that is greatly talked about. There's been Vamp 55, there's been Vamp 85, there's been amazing Vamp scare zones. Vamp 69. We're looking at a hippie, Woodstocky vibe for vampires. Now, we got the 80s vibes back in the past, so I'm very excited to see Vamps in some hippie clothes, some tie-dye clothing, and just going to town. Vamps, always a fun scare zone. So that gets us to the end of this spec map. This spec map has added a whole lot more than what the spec maps had in the past. They added whole new scare zones in a Mel's show. Now, if these are actually coming to HHN 32, I am a very happy camper. I just want the announcements, right? I want the announcements for this stuff to come, because if there is this much actually coming to the event, how are you announcing all of it at once? But let me know down in the comments what you think of the spec map, and what are your speculations on some of these images in it. It's funny, I made a video about having no content for Horror Nights to create because of the lack of announcements, and then Horror Night Nightmares blesses us with a spec map. Thank you guys. But if you like HHN like I do, or just horror, whether that be in movies, media, TV, music, games, etc., make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification down below. We have a bunch of other HHN videos on the channel. I have posted a deep dive with a bunch of other HHN creators about the complete history of Halloween Horror Nights, and my previous video was asking where Horror Nights even was. And beyond that, there's months and months of Horror Nights content for you to enjoy if you haven't checked it out yet. But besides that, I will see you in the fog, and I will see you in the morgue.